Lakshman and Joel, very welcome, and I'm glad to see you on screen because we're all in different countries at the moment.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Starting with Joel, when you presented last year in October 2021 at this ICC event, ICC China event, you outlined the China Systems project on digital guarantees. However, even though you outlined the process you were working on, I'm just wondering, it was underway at that time, but you hadn't actually achieved your goal. Just wondering, have you managed as of now to completely digitalize guarantees? By digitalize guarantees, I mean something specific. I mean digitalize guarantees using advanced technology so that guarantees can be issued digitally from applicant to bank and then sent directly in digital form to the beneficiary, let's say without a correspondent bank. So Joel, how have you done?
Thank you, Vin. Yeah, the short answer to your question, Vin, is yes. Yeah, for more than 20 years already, China Systems, we've enabled through use of technology, the customers of the bank to apply digitally for the issuance of a guarantee, but also standby LCs, and of course, obviously also commercial letters of credit. In fact, China Systems was the first technology provider to offer this capability. Now, what that means, as you said, is that the client, the applicant, could digitally apply for a guarantee, and then using straight-through processing at the back office, we could issue those guarantees predominantly in SWIFT format for international guarantees, but obviously also in paper format, both internationally, but also especially domestically, because that's where the big volumes on paper formats are. And those documents then, the paper documents could then be couriered, using express courier, could be couriered either directly to the beneficiary or to the advising bank.
That was a great achievement maybe some 25 years ago, from applicant to the bank, completely digital. But what I'm really asking is about from the bank digitally direct to the beneficiary. So where are you now on digitalizing that one, the challenging part of issuing guarantees digitally?
Yes, you're right. That's the key point. We have, in fact, simply extended our existing capabilities to issue by SWIFT and to issue by paper. So we've reused our infrastructure both on the front end and on the back end for clients to still apply digitally for guarantees, but we've added an option there to also apply for a true digital guarantee. So using the same infrastructure, we can now issue by SWIFT. We can issue still paper documents. That's still going to be around. But we also provide a facility now for guarantees to be issued digitally directly to the beneficiary using fully secure authentication. You could still use an advising bank in the case of counter guarantees. So we can still apply and issue digitally a guarantee now either directly to the beneficiary or still to a bank without the beneficiary, and that's the key point, having to be onboarded to a closed ecosystem. So the beneficiary does not have to be onboarded onto any system. We can securely issue digital guarantees to beneficiaries directly.
Yeah, I actually saw a presentation of this by one of your colleagues at Cybos, and it was really, really impressive to see it actually working so smoothly. Like if all the onboarding is done, from the client, the applicant, to see that a guarantee from one of your clients could be issued in less than 30 minutes from the applicant, maybe 500 kilometers away from the office, could be applied to the branch office, and then that guarantee could be issued digitally, the whole thing in less than 30 minutes, which is quite amazing. So that's really progress, but there's something else I think that is really exciting. Well, how about digital collections? You mentioned it very briefly last year. At that time, I'm just curious about what progress has been made. But there's a reason I'm so curious, because in my mind, the basic concept or idea of collections is excellent. The concept is excellent in controlling documents and in turn goods until payment, D bar P, or acceptance, D bar A, has been achieved, and then financing the receivable that is actually resultant. Okay. But the reality is that it takes the paper documents, not just during a pandemic or anything, but it takes the paper documents so long to get through the system. So and we have a brilliant concept, but due to the inefficiency in the movement of the paper, it's not, in my mind, a successful product. But if you can digitalize it, then it works really well by controlling and releasing. So over to you on the digital collections, the digital collection process from the drawer to drawee, and of course mentioning the banks in the middle, And so here we are at the exporter, I guess that's the drawer, and the importer on the other side of the screen, the drawee. So maybe briefly take us to the key components.
In this setup, it's one variation. So we have a three-party exchange of digital information. The exporter, as you say, the drawer, the bank, which is in an export collection, the remitting bank, and the importer, which is the drawee. We can use a collecting bank, especially if the bill under the collection would have to be avalized by a bank to provide an additional security for financing. So, but in the most simple setup, we could use just the importer, and the exporter, and the bank. So that's the minimum setup. So if you look at the process of a digital collection follows exactly the flow of a paper collection. The biggest difference is it is 100 times faster. This can be processed easily intraday. So what happens? The first step, if you look on the left side, the exporter at box number 1, he applies for an export collection. So he provides his instruction to the remitting bank, and he can optionally indicate that he wants to be financed on that export collection, because the banks, of course, are not just in there to be mailboxes of documents or digital documents, but also to generate revenue. And that typically revenue generation can be achieved by financing the exporter, typically on an accepted bill. So in step number 1, the exporter applies. When that instruction arrives digitally at the remitting bank, the bank will verify that information, will typically perform also a limit check if there's a request for discount. The key thing here is that we have also integrated our back office and our front end with an EBL platform. In the case of the demo, it's CargoX, but it could be other EBL platforms. So what is the benefit of that? We can source the information of the export transaction. The shipment information can be sourced from the EBL and can be used to generate the export collection. So full info on the shipment is also there. The bank also has access to the EBL platform and can verify that information as well. Now, since we include a digital bill of exchange under this digital process, it will be the bank in our demo scenario that will be generating a digital bill of exchange and present that to the exporter in step number 3, because a bill of exchange needs to be signed by the drawer to be legal.
Yes.
So we push that digital bill of exchange to our portal, and in step number 3, the exporter signs as the drawer of the bill of exchange. That signature is automatically added to the digital bill, and the bank will, when receiving that signature, automatically issue the full export collection in digital format to the importer. So it's not created in paper, but it's a digital format. The importer then, when he receives it, so it's step number 4 and 5, it arrives with the importer, fully digital, with digital links to both the EBL and also a link to the digital bill of exchange. So the importer can then review those documents, and it is in his interest, of course, to avoid that goods, if they typically arrive fast at the port, that he's able to collect them as quickly as possible, to avoid the problem that we have in paper collections, that he has to wait for the bills of lading to arrive in order to go to the port and collect his goods. You could solve that with the medium of a bank, of course, with a shipping guarantee. But again, there's a faster way. We actually push the document straight to the importer. So if the importer is happy with the collection and he sees based on the EBL data, I'm happy with the shipment data, I'm happy with the goods as they are described in the document, he can then also digitally sign that bill of exchange, this time as the drawee.
Yes.
So again, the back office here, the bank is playing intermediary and gets updated automatically on all activities by importer and exporter. So what happens in step number 5, when the importer digitally accepts the bill of exchange, the back office gets notified automatically. And then that's when the magic happens. In fact, the bank here enables a digital handshake between the exporter and the importer. As soon as the importer accepts the bill of exchange, he's actually complied with collection instructions. I've done my part. I've made a financial commitment to pay. Now you release the goods to me. So our back office will then automatically provide an instruction to the EBL platform to transfer ownership of the document to the importer. So the importer will get an automatic notification from the EBL platform that the ownership of goods and the ownership of the document has been transferred to him. And there's actually a number of other steps happening, of course, because based on the acceptance of the import, or in case an aval by a collecting bank would be required, the bank can also provide at this point the finance, because the buyer has committed. The bank can now finance the exporter and generate a receivables financing transaction. So automatically the finance information will be pushed to the portal and the exporter will be updated and the goods will be released. So what we do here is in an intraday transaction, we create a digital handshake whereby we actually solve the core challenge of trade. Trade is exchange of goods against money. That's what we do here. Exchange of goods, releasing goods by using an electronic bill of lading, transferring ownership and the financial commitment, a digital signing of a bill of exchange, so goods against money, all of the trade business. The rest of the process is there as well. People can look at the demo. We actually then process it end to end, but of course, because the bank has to collect the funds when it finances at the maturity or a number of days before maturity, it will digitally present that bill of exchange again to the importer, this time for payment. So we will also monitor the payment then and auto-reconcile the payment to then, of course, reverse the limits, the risk on the exporter's limit. And at the end of the process, we will also invalidate, once the payment has been made, we will also digitally invalidate the bill of exchange through an API, and the importer will be notified about this, that he's complied with all his financial obligations. So this is actually the entire demo. People can watch the demo. It's under 30 minutes. So under 30 minutes, we actually do something which would normally take weeks to get the documents across from one party to the other. Now it's through an online real-time digital handshake, and it's a lot of STP process as well. As you can see, the orange, it's all automated activity. So I think this is one of the products for the future, and it can actually be done today, but it's one of the things that we see a typical example how traditional, powerful trade instruments can be successfully digitally re-engineered in a much faster.
Wonderful. And Joel, what I really like about the way you explained it, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're taking an existing system process based on legal principles that is already in place, but it's just using the technology to make it much more efficient. There's another aspect as well, I think, that's really interesting is with that visibility on the bills of lading, apart from the collection process, I think we would be eliminating fraud to a large degree in these transactions, because there will be a possibility of verification of the actual existence of the goods in every transaction.
Absolutely. It's not you don't just have to rely on the paper. We've got APIs in place to those platforms, and the carriers providing the information. So you have direct access to the real shipment information. You don't have to rely on what has been written on a piece of paper. So yes, it's an additional way to actually combat fraud.
That's a wonderful, and I'm watching our time because we always like to be on time. But thank you very much, Joel. We may come back with a question a little bit later. Now turning to Lakshman of trade assets. And Lakshman, at the last event again in October 2021 with ICC China, you mentioned that trade assets had put through about, I think, $1 billion on the trade assets platform. Quite impressive. But how about 2022, a year later? How much trade have you facilitated in 2022? How are you doing?
Good morning, Vincent.
Good morning.
Thank you, Vincent and ICC UAE, for having me on this conference. And also, wonderful thanks to our great friends in China. So we are really looking forward to be physically in China, at least next year, for this conference. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, coming to 1 billion, 2 billion. I'm very happy to inform you, our first year was 2021, first year of operation. We managed to achieve a volume of 1.3 billion. And, which was a very, very encouraging start to our first year of operation. And as we are going towards closing our second year of operation, we already crossed 2 billion in volumes, and so cumulatively we have done 3 billion plus so far, and we are looking to a very rewarding 2023 and 24. Adding another few billions to the platform.
Okay, well, that's really impressive progress, and I'm really happy to see it. But what about the geographic spread of trade assets on the trade asset platform in the deals you're actually doing? Because as I recall, if you don't mind me saying, at our last event, about 80% of your deals were concentrated or originated in Southeast Asia.
See, that is a very good, very good problem to have, because we are the only platform with a huge focus on emerging markets. And we are creating these corridors between the emerging markets and the developed markets, and various geographies. So South Asia and GCC, being our home market, and South Asia being the biggest emerging market supplier of transactions. So South Asia continues to play an important part in our platform. So the deal supplies come from South Asia, like you said, 80%. Yeah. But the good news is we are now diversifying, in addition to South Asia, you can see APAC, you can see we have seen deals coming in from Vietnam. We are looking at Indonesia soon. And another great news is that we have now expanded into Africa. Sub-Saharan and West Africa is, like we have added more than 20 banks now. And we are growing quite strongly in Africa, and we hope to see soon, several deals getting posted from Africa and getting closed on the platform. That's a very encouraging sign.
Yeah, very encouraging, and that spread of origination of trade deals and expanding your trade facilitation is, of course, very positive. But what about your network? About a year ago, Trade Assets had, if I remember correctly, about 60 banks on the Trade Asset platform. Where are you now? Has there been a take-up, and maybe have major international banks been coming on board as well?
Yeah, just to add to my previous geographical distribution, I forgot to mention an important corridor we managed to activate in the last month. That is South America, that is LATAM. So we are now connecting, we have connected LATAM with the subcontinent, and we are soon hoping to connect LATAM with more banks in GCC also. So that is an important corridor which we have opened up recently. So coming to your banks,
the network,
the ecosystem we are creating, I'm very happy to inform you that as of today, we are 102 banks. We crossed a very important milestone of 100 banks on the platform. So this is a very important ecosystem we are now creating, consisting mainly of emerging market banks. But then we are also now, in conversation with the very large global banks, whether it's a HSBC or the Chartered or a Bank of America. We are looking at all of them soon becoming part of trade assets.
That's wonderful.
Including our friends from Bank of China. We are hoping to soon welcome Bank of China onto the platform.
Great, that's really wonderful news. And so 102 and growing, and bigger banks joining as well as the regional banks in the key trade corridors. That's really great. But also the last time we spoke, you felt that there was big opportunity with the multilateral development banks, with, for example, the World Bank, IFC, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the Development Bank, Asian Development Bank in particular. But what have you made? Are you making progress on with the multilateral development banks, because they're key to supporting trade in the emerging developing countries?
Yeah. Thanks for asking this important question. We are very strongly engaged with the multilaterals, the DFIs, development banks as they are called, and I am very glad to tell you that we have advanced conversations going on with almost all of them, with IFC, EBRD, ADB, Afrexim. We are talking to all of them, and we hope to see some of them on the platform very soon, hopefully in early 2023. And we also appreciate all the help you are providing to us towards this objective. Yeah. And we are looking forward to seeing all these major development banks in Dubai. Next year at the ICC UAE conference being organized by you and ICC UAE. So we hope to see all of them in Dubai in March 23. Right? March 23.
Well, yeah, absolutely, Lakshman. We are once again hosting the Global Trade Facilitation Summit in Dubai on the full week commencing the 13th of March 2023. And we had great participation virtually from China, our colleagues through ICC China, but hopefully with a little bit of luck, we'll be hoping that our friends can join us physically on the week of the 13th of March. So Lakshman, you have a short video message to share with our colleagues in China.
Yeah. So we have specially prepared this video for our friends in China in their own language. So I hope they enjoy this video.
我们每天都会利用最新科技让生活更方便、更高效。但涉及 trade assets 买卖这一重要活动时，为什么还要沿用陈规旧俗？下面介绍的 Trade Assets 是首个为银行服务的贸易金融电子市场。Trade Assets 高效、便捷、有利可图且稳定安全。Trade Assets 可让您安全地访问各种机构，一键交易，定价更方便，可保证更多效益。加入 Trade Assets 电子社区，敬请访问 www.tradeassets.online。
As you know, my Chinese is so good, I understood every single word that was spoken during the video. I did. So just to wrap up and say that Joel, the progress you have made is really, really great. I have seen the digital guarantees actually working. I haven't seen actually the collections demo yet, but I'm really looking forward to seeing it. And Lakshman, again, the progress you're making in keeping trade moving or opening up new trade corridors is really, really excellent. So to our colleagues in ICC China, thank you again for giving ICC UAE, United Arab Emirates, the opportunity to present at this very important event. In fact, China is now the #1 trade partner of the United Arab Emirates, and the trade is actually growing at a phenomenal speed. And Dubai and the UAE is now the fastest growing trade hub in the world. So with that, we're going to finish, but we hope to see you all with us either virtually or physically in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, in the week commencing 13 March 2023. So Lee, I can hand back over to you.
Thank you, ICC. Thank you, ICC China. Thank you, ICC UAE. Thank you, Vin. Yeah.
Hi, Vin, Joe, and Lakshman.
Hi.
Very glad
Hi.
to meet you here again and learn about
Good to
it.
see you.
How are you?
Glad to be here.
And it's really exciting and interesting to hear your latest, your presentations about the latest update of the technology in trade finance solutions. And some of the ideas are very creative and may change the landscape. And I have one question for Joe about the collection, receivables collection financing. It seems to me that only one bank now is involved in this program, and only the remitting bank. And I'd like to know, is that to say that the collecting bank is not necessary at all? And do you will include the ICC rules in such transactions?
Well, from a technical point of view, the collecting bank does not need to be used because there's in a normal collection, the collecting bank, of course, acts as a secure mechanism to hand over the documents against acceptance or against payment. So it does not need to be included unless, of course, there would be a need. For example, if the bill would have to be avalized by a collecting bank, then we can actually include the collecting bank inside the flow of the collection. So from that perspective, it is not required to include the collecting bank. In terms of the rules, that's a very good question, because from our side, of course, we're mainly focusing on technically enabling the flows. In terms of the rules we use, we expect that we can use EURC for such a process. But that is actually something, of course, which also needs to be decided by the bank, because that's not imposed by China's system. So in terms of what rules you use for the collection, we would expect that EURC could be utilized.
Well,
Thank you.
Joel, I believe, you know, in the Banking Commission, news goes around. I believe you had a meeting. I heard from one of my colleagues with Thomas and colleagues of the Banking
Yes,
Commission, and
correct.
I heard they were pretty impressed with what you were actually presenting. How did it go?
It was one of the questions that came up. It was so John Boren, also from Lloyds. There was a group of bankers on the call, so they were going to look into it, because the digital collection that we developed was actually selected as one of the 7 global cases by ICC UK as one of the most advanced ways of handling digital documentation. So they were going to look deeper into what we've done on collections, because from a technical point of view, actually everything has been achieved. But it's a very good question, of course. The technical aspect is one thing. You also have to make sure that from a procedural point of view, from a legal point of view, from a rules point of view, of course, you can also securely as a bank get involved in that transaction. So that's one of the things that the members of the Banking Commission would be looking at to actually make sure that banks could comfortably start processing those transactions on a volume basis. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Very impressive.
My pleasure.
Next year, because
Wonderful.
China, has loosened its COVID-19 policies, quarantine policies. So we definitely will meet in person.
Great.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the
Thank you.
opportunity. Thank you. Bye-bye,
Thank you.
and see you soon.
Bye-bye.
See you
Bye.
soon. Bye.
Bye.